The other day, I got this comment on something I put on Instagram, which was essentially a quote from Ethan Hawke talking about why real people have stories that are of value. I had written, "This is why I teach writing workshops." And this person said, "Pretty ironic that you're poaching the words of a real writer to try and convince people on the internet that you can teach them how to write." I don't usually respond to comments like that, but in this case, the idea of somebody being a real writer addresses one of the main things I try to provide when I teach writing courses. When somebody wants to be a writer or is curious about being a writer, I think the biggest obstacle many of us have is giving ourselves permission to try doing it, or to put it another way, get out of our own way. Everyone has to make this transition from wondering if they could be a writer to being a writer at some point, and it looks different for everybody. For some people, it's finishing writing the first draft of their first short story. For other people, it's getting published. Some people don't feel like they're real writers until they've gotten their work published somewhere like The New Yorker or by a big book publisher. But there are also writers who have self-published books that have become New York Times bestsellers. I know people who were so good at writing Instagram captions that they got book deals out of it. I also have friends who have written poetry for years and they don't care if anybody ever reads it. To me, all these people are writers because they're writing. They're doing the thing that they were curious about doing. I don't teach at a university, but plenty of creative writing and MFA courses are taught by fantastic professors whose work you may have never heard of. And of course, lots of those classes are taught by professors who have had literary success. And guess how those professors teach students how to write? At least partly by poaching the words of other writers to show how good writing works. And that's what I try to do too. I try to share examples of well-written stories. Some that come from big publications, but some that I found on people's Substacks or in books that have only sold a few hundred or 1,000 copies. I think it's important to show that good writing is good writing, whether hundreds of thousands of people have read it or just a few dozen. All good writers started somewhere, and wherever that was, they weren't a writer yet. They were someone who was gonna be a writer. And then they got started.